Alright, so the next part that I'm going to be working on is the window here, and I've just rendered out the UV template real quick, and we're going to bring this into Photoshop. Now, with the UV template here, I don't want to have to do all this work all over again, so I'm going to go back into the door, grab my information here, just copy that, and I'm just going to do a real quick Control-Shift copy, and that's going to copy merged, and then I'm going to paint that over. I'm going to transform that, and just kind of, you can see some of this is going to work and some of it's not. So I'm just going to actually kind of squash some of that up here. I think right about there. Okay, so now as you can see, some of this is going to work and some of it's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of bring this up here, and I'm going to, instead of redoing all this work again, we're just going to kind of grab this part here, copy, let's just transform it, Control T, and I'm just kind of putting it in place there. It's not going to be perfect. And let's do a control, let's do a cut on that, and then I'm going to grab it here. And let's do a cut on that too. Got to be on the right layer though. And let's transform that one down. And it's just saving me time. It doesn't need to be, you know, these were basically stretched in already. So I'm going to just transform that. And let's kind of bring that over here. Bring that over here, about center. Oops. Transform, warp. And it's just a matter of playing with it, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay, because we will do something else then. But the way I look at it is, if I can do at least a good portion of this without having to worry about remaking this entire thing, then I've just saved myself some time, which is a good thing. Okay, so I like the way half of this looks, so I'm just going to real quickly grab the eraser, kind of right down the middle, take all that away, and grab the highlight from here and just start painting that on the brush here, just like so. Grab this middle part. Grab the dark part. I'm going to just go back up to hardness here. There we go. And we can just kind of clean out some of that. Okay. So with that all said and done, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of these other colors real quick here. Actually, I'll just duplicate this, transform it, flip horizontal, merge the layer, select, and go back to the move tool, kind of center that, and clean up the edges on both sides, just to have like so. And it looks like, for some reason, this isn't quite equal, and that's okay. Let's there we go. That looks good. All right. So with that all said and done, I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. Let's straighten this up. Grab that. Like so. And there we go. Now with that all said and done, that's pretty much a good portion of my window right there. I'm going to actually really quickly go in and I'm just going to flatten this, merge layer, and grab some of this here, take off my transform real quick, do some solid painting here. And like so. Like so. Now, the bottom here is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to see if I can do a little bit of a trick here. We'll see what we can do here. But I'm just going to paint this on here. And I don't want to erase all that work, so there we go. There we go. Okay, so this is all, once this is all set, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab this top piece up here. And it looks like I painted over my, so I'm just going to copy that, select transform. Now I'm going to flip this, vertical here, and I'm going to move this down like so. And the problem with this is that let's see here. All right. We're just going to go in here real quick. And I'm going to just really quickly kind of paint in some of the details that I kind of accidentally deleted. So we're just going to kind of paint real quick here. Grab some of this highlight. Now, the problem is this is upside down. So as you can see, it's just going to give the wrong appearance. So what I'm going to do, and I don't know if it'll work, but sometimes you just have to think outside the box. So I'm going to cut this, and on a new layer, let's see if we can change up the lighting. And sometimes it'll work. and sometimes it won't. I'm just trying something different here. Okay, so that was my first option. My second option is because I can duplicate this layer here, and I'm just going to hide the bottom one, and I'm going to go to adjustments, and I'm going to go into hue saturation, and the first thing I'm going to do is take away all the saturation and say OK. Then I'm going to go into levels, and we're going to see if we can brighten and darken like so with kind of a mid-tone gray. Say OK, and then I'm going to go into and invert it. So this is my second option, and if this doesn't work, that's fine. Alright, so I kind of like the soft light kind of doing its thing. But not really. So okay, so if that, let's try one more thing. So we're just going to do the soft light, and we're going to do a and as long as I get pretty close to the same color tone value, I'm okay. And so then it's just a matter of going in here and let's grabbing in some of our highlights into our brush, and let's go here. And with our highlights on our brush, I'm just going to kind of paint, oops, this is where our transfer comes in. And just simple like this, maybe even less opacity. And then we are just going to start with the reverse. I'm just going to paint in some of the real quick highlights. And with that said, actually I'm just going to go in and pick this highlight here. And with that said, I'm just kind of going in and tweaking what I had. Nothing too fancy, just kind of adding in some of those highlights. And it's basically about workflow. I mean, if you can shorten something as simple as this with just a matter of, couple attempts of, a couple minutes, is it the right way to do it? It depends on what the purpose. But it's just a trick that you can try. And if it works, it works. If not, well, then you wasted 5 minutes and you move on and try something else. So I'm going to essentially, we'll call this done for this intensive purpose. I can probably even go on here and kind of lighten up that, go up here, and just kind of play with some of this stuff here. But for the most part, we'll call it done. So we've got that. And then I'm going to just do the same thing. So I'm actually going to go into this layer here, grab these, edit, copy, select, paste, select transform, and again, it's a simple fix. It gets me what I want real fast, and then so I can go on and work from there. Now, one of the other things that I can do is I'll just go in here and paint in like the highlights here. You know, I had kind of this like so, and then just gonna kind of rough in some of these here. I don't know exactly what's highlight and what's not, but for all intents and purposes, I'm just gonna rough that in. But the next thing is actually really kind of important on what we're doing here. So I'm gonna pick a new layer here, and I'm just gonna pick kind of a bluish, real light blue, and I'm just going to menu, let's see here, Alt, and that's going to give us our window. Okay, so our window is going to give us two things. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take a brush. I'm going to go real soft, real big, add in some, you know, just nothing. I don't really want it too fancy. I'm not really something like that. That's good. But what I wanted to do is actually create a new layer, and I'm going to fill this with a kind of a mid-tone dark gray. And then what I'm going to do is actually let's go mid-tone real quick here. And I'm going to fill this with that new layer as that background. So now with that background in place, I'm going to take off all of this except for my window, and I'm going to actually we'll do this, and we're just going to pick some of the black here and just kind of something like that. Just not enough to really matter, but just gives you an idea. And then the rest, I'm going to invert, and I'm going to fill it with the background color. So this, I'm going to save off as window alpha. And this is going to be just a JPEG. All right. And now I will put that in there. Depends on how you want to do it. But what I would do is I would put that in there, and I will kind of explain that in a second. All right, so with this all done, I'm going to save this one off, and this is going to be just window diffuse. And we're going to save it as a PSD. And we're going to jump over to our main monitor here, and I'm going to grab my window. I'm going to show you. Let's go Alt Q and go in here, go to my material editor again, and just grab a everyday old material, and in diffuse I'm going to do a bitmap, and we're going to put in our PSD. Say OK, and we're going to say OK. So now here's where the interesting thing comes along. So in opacity, I'm going to add a bitmap, and I'm going to use the alpha. And now if you look at it, won't show it here because we're not using any special material or anything like that. But when you put it into a game engine, let's do rotate. When you put it in the game engine, it will make it semi-transparent. So it'll give you some semblance of what's out on the other side of the box. So that gives us now a transparency for the window, and we can put that in there. Now with that in place, I'm just going to go back here, and we're going to undo this, go into here, and just start dragging and dropping. And with that in place, and let's see here, why didn't that one go? Okay. And there we go. We have got our windows for our subway now. All right, and I hope that helps you out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start working on some of the other, I think probably the lamp and the chair here, or the stool here. And from there we'll keep going.